right. So we are here for part two with Ryan Matta, and we're just probably going to jump back into all of the stuff we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, let's do it.
The first question I really wanted to ask you was, how long have you been doing docu-films?
So I've been doing docu-films for going on 2 years now. I believe, no, actually 1 year, 14 months to the day pretty much was when we released our first documentary. So maybe technically, maybe like a year and a half, maybe 2 years at best. Um, and I put out about 14 films in the last 14 months.
My goodness, that's busy. And what
Yeah, it's
made you
really
start
too
that?
much. Just trying to tell the story of the migrant children and it being such a big story that like you can't really grasp your head, you can't really wrap your head
Hmm.
around. And then we thought that, and I've been so demonetized on every platform. I've lost all my income. It's like 12 TikToks, 3 Instagrams, 2 YouTubes. Sorry, 3 YouTubes. I'm on my fourth now. We'll see if it stays up. And permanently banned on LinkedIn, 3 Instagrams. And that's it. I've always had my Facebook. Somehow my Facebook, I just didn't really post there. So I guess that was why it stayed up as long as it did. And then
Hmm.
now I'm just, yeah, so that's about the reason I thought I could maybe possibly potentially make a living doing some type of, making films and making these
Hmm.
documentaries because, you only need, if you sell them for $10 a piece, you only need to sell, if you sell them for $10 a piece and you sell 10,000 copies, that's $1 million.
Right.
So thought, hey, maybe there's a way to, figure out how to make a living from this. And me and JJ went on that trip for the first two films. We put out What is Treason, #Trafficked,
Hmm.
What is Treason, #Invaded. And in the process of that, I just learned that in order for these films to really make an impact, you need to give them out for free. And then now I'm kind of realizing that that's not the case. Maybe that giving them away for free because they need to be given away for free isn't really necessarily the best solution, because when you put something out for free, people don't really necessarily feel like there's, I guess, a value in it. So they're
Hmm.
not as tuned to like, oh my gosh, this is special. I have to pay to watch this, so I'm going to pay to watch it versus just giving it out for free. So this one underperformed drastically compared to what I thought it was going to do. I thought this was going to finally be the film that did 5 million views, and it just maybe it will over time, but it's kind of, you can kind of tell within the first 24 hours of how a film does if it's really gonna take off and kind of go. And this one just didn't really take off and go.
Really? I'm shocked at that just because of the story and the exposing of CPS. You would think that this would it's gut wrenching, I think, to anybody. Like I said, I don't even have kids. And to me, I watch it and I'm like, if I feel I need to watch it, how can it, that not get around? So that's really crazy that it hasn't done well. Maybe it's because it's like right before Thanksgiving too. I think so many people are consumed with like cooking and family and traveling, and maybe that
You know,
has
I
something to do with it.
I launched the last one on the 24th. So I think the 24th last year would have been maybe it was a Tuesday or something. And I launched it almost at I think it would have been a Thursday. I don't remember. This year the 24th was on a Monday. I'm almost positive I launched my last film on the 24th. And I thought it was on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Also, launching on a Monday was the first time I've ever rolled one out on a Monday. And you're
Hmm.
competing for a lot of news stories on a Monday, so there's a lot going on the internet.
Hmm.
Maybe people just don't want to start their week watching a documentary on child trafficking. So maybe if I would have waited till like a Wednesday or a Thursday, it might have been done a little bit better because the kind of news cycles would have been broke. It's kind of hump day, and then people are like, I don't know, timing. Just it was crazy, and I got the most like people. I got Candace Owens retweeting it. Granted, she retweeted the Spanish one and not the English one, but I feel like I got a lot of love from a lot of people.
Hmm.
Did the best podcast circuit with the most interviews this time, and yeah, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be for the launch. I thought it was going to go mega viral, but also it was 2 hours. The last one was only 80 something minutes, which I think makes a drastic impact. People see a 2 hour film like, I'm not sitting through a 2 hour film. They just look at it and they go, I'm not sitting through it. Maybe they would if it was 60 minutes. I think it would have did a lot better. Which I was planning on this one being 60 minutes when I sent it out to my first editor. Like the parts I send
Hmm.
him are like me recording my scripts and me kind of putting some pieces together and me putting pieces together with family. It was like a 45-minute thing when I sent it to him. So I'm like, you got
Hmm.
15 minutes to add whatever you need to add in there. But the
Hmm.
way that he tells, he's just so good at editing, man. I just can't. He's like an artist. So I'm just like,
Oh
here's what
yeah.
I do your thing. And he always does so good, but it just times have changed. People's brains are burnt out. They got the TikTok brain. They're not, you know, not quite what nobody has 2 hours just to dedicate to sit there and watch a film. And most people don't anyway. So yeah.
It's crazy that you say that because 2 hours is long, but maybe I'm I'm different because, yeah, TikTok brain is real, and I always think it's crazy that everything has to be so fast and you have to have a hook and, like, you gotta grab their attention. I'm like, what happened to people just genuinely like, I always wanna learn, right? I'm always craving just knowledge, right? So, my husband laughs because he's like, "You never just watch, like, things for fun. You're always watching, like, a documentary or something." And he's like, "Can't we just watch, like, Avengers?" And I'm like, "No." I'm, like, polar opposite. I'm just
Yeah.
always trying uh, to learn something or watch stories and things like that. So I'm the opposite of TikTok brain, and I think that's a huge problem that we're seeing throughout society now. And it comes back to no one wants to read. No one, you know what I mean? Like I would dedicate 2 hours to this film. I did. I think it's an important issue. I think with this, what I think it is it's not about time, Ryan. I think even my mom, I sent her this. And the first thing my mom said was, she's like, "Nicole, I watched, the first half of it." And she said, I started to cry. She said, I mean, I want to finish it, but she said, this is rough to watch. This is rough to digest. And I said, Mom, just because it's rough to digest doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it. That's the point. Like, that's the
Mhm.
problem is people, it's easier to like sweep something like this under the rug because of how nasty it is. Do you remember when Sound of Freedom was released?
Sure do.
A lot of people would not watch that movie because they said, I can't take watching. They already knew what it
Mhm.
was about, but
Mhm.
it's so important to watch that stuff. Just because something's ugly doesn't mean that we ignore it. And I think that this is exactly, what it is. Nobody wants to believe this actually happens.
Yeah, you're so right on that. That's exactly why we named it Never in America, right? Because everybody's like, it would never happen in America. That would never happen in America. And people tell you these conspiracy theories, these so-called conspiracy theories, and people just shrug them off like that's just a conspiracy theory. That would never happen in America, but it does, and it is. And even when you present them with the evidence, they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, maybe. I mean, that was one case of it, right?" And then you put
Mhm.
it all together there, and you're like, "No, it wasn't really one case. It's a vast majority. It's probably 90% of cases." And the system's so evil. Then it goes into, "Oh, well, I'm just one person. What am I going to do about it?" Right? So it's like I don't know. We've been brainwashed into believing that, there's three things you don't talk about with your family: money, religion, and politics, or the three things you don't talk about at the dinner table: money, religion, and politics. And it's just like, those are the three things we should be talking about constantly at the dinner table. That's all we should be talking about because that's all that really matters at the end of the day. So I think you're spot on. You're right over the target on that one.
Yeah. And I always say like rough topics like that, we have to be able to normalize this. Like I understand they're uncomfortable things to talk about, right? And the other thing I try to tell people too with politics is I come from an old school Italian family, okay? So my aunts and uncles are in their 70s, right? And they vote Democrat because they were raised to vote Democrat, okay? Because when my great grandpa came from Naples, Italy, they came here, they stopped speaking. First off, I want to say they stopped speaking Italian because they were Americans. That's when people were proud to be
Yep.
Americans and they said, "Hey, we're in America, we're going to speak English, we're going to do it the American way." That's the first problem with people. You either bow down to this flag or the other, but you can't have both. You can't have two masters, right? And back then, people were proud when they came here. They were proud. My husband is Cuban and German, and his dad came from Havana, Cuba when Fidel was taking over. Okay. And they came here and they were proud to be American, and you don't see that anymore. And so there's a lot of that, and like they were taught to vote Democrat, so it's instilled in their brain no matter how bad the system sucks, that's how they vote, right? And that hasn't helped anything either. So we'd sit at the dinner table and you talk about Trump, and it would turn into a war. And I'm like, why can't we just have discussions? And why can't everyone just be open minded to listen to the other person?
Mhm.
And it all comes back to this kind of stuff, all this corruption. You could talk to my aunts and uncles, and I could tell them all the things you and I are talking about. And I'm so passionate about this stuff. Like, I don't even think people want to talk to me half the time because I can't talk about anything but conspiracy. You
Right.
know, it's so bad. And they just can't fathom it. They just you could literally show them all the proof in the world. It's like Candace. Candace could come to the table with so much proof, and you're still going to have people that it's not acceptable. It's never going to hit with them because they're just anti Candace. Candace is crazy, so no matter what she brings, it's never going to be enough. It's the
100%
same
never.
thing.
Never. Candace, and it's funny watching Candace, she'll come out with and she'll make a claim. And it's like she's so good at baiting people in. She's like, I know if I say this is how people are going to react to it. And then you see today when she basically, or with the French president in the assassination squad, She came out, made the claim, the internet melted down, and then she brings the receipts. Now the White House is acknowledging it, and then everybody else is like, "Oh, we're just gonna wait till the next thing comes. They're gonna attack her again." It's just like, guys, like it's so. Candace is so over the target with this assassination stuff that she's, literally the president of a foreign nation is paying to assassinate her, and may have been involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That's pretty freaking nuts to think that our government just sits by and lets these foreign governments just, yep, your citizens get too loud, we're just going to come over there and kill them for our benefit. What? Welcome to America. Welcome to the golden ages, right?
But it's been going on forever. I mean,
Forever.
Charlie Kirk is not new news. The difference is now is this right here. These exist. So what
Yep.
happened to JFK and MLK, you can't lie about it anymore because we got too many of these things. You know what I mean? And so
100%.
that's the issue now. And people are on those things. Well, they're walking, talking. That's how they're getting robbed. Everyone's buried in their phone all the time.
Yep.
And so the excuse too, it goes back to the film. I literally yesterday I watched your film for a second time before our interview because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I literally went and ran my errands with an AirPod in my ear, with this in my purse, just listening to the information. So it's not an excuse of I don't have time. It's if you want to make the time. Is something
For
that
sure.
important to you to where I don't have a child, it doesn't affect me, but it affects my niece. It affects friends of mine that have kids. And so it's what are your values? What are your morals? Right? Because you'll make time for anything that's important to you, right? And people just it's this concept of, oh, well, I don't have kids, it's not my problem. I'm never going to have kids, it's not going to affect me.
Okay. Yep. Keep thinking that, right?
Yeah,
Keep thinking
it's
that
a
because
selfish mentality. This is a selfish world.
yeah, America is just a corrupt country, right? It's just we were sold that this American dream is this, we're the greatest nation in the world. America can do no harm, and we're the world's police. And you look around and think, no, we're just the world's terrorist organization, and we hate our citizens, and we're poisoning their skies, we're poisoning their food. We're, the only thing we're the greatest at is incarcerating American citizens. Like we're the world's per population size per capita, we have the highest incarceration rate in the world. I don't know if that's something we should be proud of, right? We're not the fastest, we're not the smartest, we're not the strongest, we're not the most advanced, we're not I don't know, we don't have the lowest taxes, like all the things that matter to people, the lowest gas prices, the lowest taxes, lowest cost of living. Right now, if you're not a homeowner, your children will be priced out of owning real estate for all of eternity. It's really that simple. The only chance you have as a parent at maybe is like giving your children a piece of land. But if you don't even own one yourself, man, I don't know. I think your children are going to be in for a rude awakening.
It's so funny that you said we're not the smartest, and I shouldn't even be laughing about this, but I have to because it's like this. It's this simple. We're not the smartest because they didn't want you to be fucking smart, because they didn't want you to ask questions. They didn't want critical thinking. They want you broke and stupid. That's the only way you stay in this cycle. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so you go over to Europe, you go to these other countries, the curriculum taught in their schools compared to an American, it's like night and day. So when Trump said, Americans are stupid, my husband laughed and he goes, well, you ain't wrong. Majority of them are. You know what I mean? And I had to
Yep.
laugh out loud, literally, because I'm like, I was offended at first. And then he's like, it's kind of true. Like majority of
Yeah.
people are. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. But that's how you keep people the way they have in this box, right? Is like, think about when you were in grade school. I don't know how old you are. I'm 36.
38. Yep. So a couple years ahead of
We
you.
never think about it. You were ingrained, like it was drilled in your head. You had to go to college. You have to get a degree. You're going to amount
Yes.
to nothing. You were never going to have shit, right?
Yep.
And I know more. Okay, my brother is 27 years old. Okay, at 17, he became a professional video gamer. Started traveling the world. Played Rainbow Six Siege. Not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, my buddy was ranked number 3 in the world in Rainbow Six.
Okay, my brother's on VK. He literally
Nice.
made history. He was the only North American team 2 years in a row to win the world championship for that. You can Google my brother. That is my brother. And
That's pretty cool.
he has made, I mean, when I say sickening amounts of money, like disturbing, like I was like, this is like, I'm sick because I went to college for no reason. Like I should have just stayed home from school, told my mom I had a stomach ache, and played fucking video games, and I would have done better, I guess. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't have had to work as much. Well, they work hard. There's a lot of training involved and stuff, but he's traveled the world. He's made tons of money. And the kid's as smart as a whip. Like he's got the most useless facts. He's like me. We're always like talking about like just random useless crap. And I love that. But college is a scam. You got more kids now that are 18, 19 years old own Amazon stores that are millionaires.
Oh yeah.
Never went to college.
Oh yeah.
But that's how you were brought up. That's how I was brought up. You weren't going to amount to anything unless you graduate from college.
Yeah, my mom said the same thing. I'll go to school, get a good job, go to college, put money into your 401k, save to retirement, and then have some kids and,
Hmm.
become a parent and then, create the cycle of abuse all over again. It's just like, at one point I was working and I was probably, gosh, I forget how old I was, 25 or, yeah, I was right after my son was born. So probably 25, 26. And I was running a little online business and I started doing like a really large amount of sales in this online business. And I started to realize like, I made at one point before eBay shut my store down, I was doing like a couple $1,000s a day in sales or profit
Hmm.
a day in sales. I was making a couple $1,000s a day profit from my sales. And I got a taste of what it was like to live like the 1%, not even close
Hmm.
to like really what the 1% really lives like. But I started to realize that like when you're making enough to where like, oh, like I need a new car next month. It's like, okay, cool. I just won't spend money this month and I can literally buy one cash next month. Like you can go out to the store, you can buy whatever you want, outfits,
Hmm.
clothes, you can go on trips. And you never have to look at your bank account because you constantly have so much money and revenue coming in. And I realized like, rich people don't cut their grass. Rich people don't cook their breakfast. Rich people don't clean their house. Rich people don't take their car to the shop when it gets broke down, right? Like they just have people that do all these things for them. And sure, some rich people, cut their grass because they're just the old man and they enjoy cutting grass, right? Like
Right.
my grandpa's worth millions and he cuts his own grass. But where I'm going with that is I got a taste of what it was like. And I realized that there's two different classes of living here, right? You're either a slave in what Andrew Tate calls the matrix, or you're not, and you're free. And by
Yep.
free, I mean, you have the ability, like when things get bad in a country and a government gets corrupt, you have the ability to say, hey, I'm going to choose not to live here anymore. I'm going to up and move my family to a whatever country I feel like, because I have the money to either buy myself a passport, I have the connections, I have the resources. And you understand that, right? So it's like, once you understand that, it's like, you said you're one of the people who said, oh, I don't want to have kids because I don't want to bring them into this world. But I don't agree with that. But I still think that like, I see where you're coming from and I don't necessarily blame you. But if we don't outpopulate these fuckers, we're done, right? And as a man, you have a legacy. So I think men and women think about it a little bit differently, right? Like you're only put on this earth for one purpose, and that is to reproduce, right? And to carry on your bloodline. That's why you were born in the first place. It's like one of
Hmm.
your natural instincts is to replicate. And but the world's become such a bad place and it's so demonic. It's like people in America don't even want to replicate because they can't afford it. They can't afford to feed themselves. They can't afford to keep a roof over their heads. How are they ever going to have kids and do it? So I don't blame people. I blame our government, and our government's the root cause of all of this evil.
So I, what you just said, I agree with, and I will tell you that what I think, and I did a video on this, and to some people, I think it's like okay, I think it opens some people's eyes, and then some people I think still don't see it. But Charlie Kirk was very big on have a family, have children, whatever. And I
Yep.
said, you notice over time, you have a lot of people coming here from, Palestine, look at what's happening in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a large Muslim population. And I said 9/11 isn't going to be a thing times two. If we have another attack, it's going to come from infiltration within, right?
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
we are not populating. So you got to think when you and I are 70 years old, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because this generation isn't, it's all career, career, career.
Yep.
Next thing you know, you have all these people move over. Now they're in government positions which if you weren't born here, you have no business working in our government. That is wild,
Yes.
right? But it should scare people because look at Michigan, look at New York. Now 40, 50 years from now, they come here, they have 5 kids a pop.
Well, like
Okay.
10.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then they get all the benefits for food stamps and everything else, right?
Yep.
And you see it in the UK. They've strained the UK financially. That's the same plan they have for here. So I said 40, 50 years from now, you guys, next thing you know, there's going to be less of us. And what do you think they're going to do when they all get into government positions? Your Second Amendment, your Constitution is going to go bye-bye, and then you're really screwed.
Yep.
So
100%.
people need to like wake up. It's not going to be like we're flying planes into buildings anymore, which our government did that. That's a
Yeah.
whole nother thing. That was us again. And this is what I'm talking about. My husband went to war and he literally said, I went to war for something our own government did. So if
Mm-hmm.
you think that soldiers don't know that, they know.
Mm-hmm. That's why the
And
suicide rate's at 22 a day.
mhm.
Yep.
you know?
I mean, it would be hard to live with yourself when you're getting down and and you're becoming poor and your government's not helping you and you're supposed to have this health care and you went and served your country and now you're missing a leg or an arm or you're permanently disabled because you went and chose to fight for a country, and then you're starting to look around and go, yeah, this wasn't the country that I thought I was fighting for. This is what I thought I was here to do. I think that's
Mhm.
why so many people are taking their lives, because they went into these homes and they slaughtered these innocent Iraqi citizens and they bombed them and they destroyed their homes and they ripped their children out of their beds, and it's just so evil and vile and corrupt what our government did. But that's what we do. That's status quo. That's how our government rolls, right? So I think we're all starting to expect it at this point.
Yeah, I think now when we were, younger, I think it was maybe some people knew, but I think now it's like beyond hiding. I just think there's too many things now, and like with social media, I think that's why they're trying to take things out of books and remove articles online, and you got to squash all this stuff. It's like the USS Liberty. You know what I mean? My own
Yeah.
husband didn't even know what that was, and I'm like, excuse me,
Yeah. I didn't
you
know
know?
till a year ago. I didn't know if it wasn't for Jake Shields and people like Dan Balzerian and Nick Fuentes and
Hmm.
all the work that they've done. It's just like three voices have really led this charge at waking everybody up to all of these atrocities all over the
Hmm.
world. And they're always caused by our government, right? Or Israel was involved in it, or Israel knew that our base was going to get blown up and Israel didn't report it. It's just like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. And then you start seeing declassified documents. It's like our founding fathers were really adamant about not having these secret police states, right? Like, we don't want to have, there shouldn't be secret organizations within our own government, because that's way, and it's not controlled by the people, right? You can't have that. And we've had
Hmm.
that. We've allowed these intelligence agencies to create it. And until we fix that and right that wrong, we don't stand a chance, because once we elect a politician, they have every email, every phone call, every dick pic, every text message, everything that you've ever done, every porn website you've ever watched. It's all being recorded. It's all stored on a server.
Hmm.
And if you when the politicians that we actually elect, we actually vote and somehow manage to beat the rigged elections, and we get the man or person we want in the office, our intelligence agencies just blackmail them and compromise them. It's just like, so we don't really have a chance here with these intelligence agencies.
Yeah, I think all the three-letter agencies need to go. I mean, they really, at this point, what purpose, you look at today, and I totally off topic of like some of this stuff, but um look at Alexis Wilkins arguing on X today. I was like, are we still like really? You know, talk about abuse of like power of who you're dating. Like this is crazy.
For
I mean,
sure.
this is embarrassing. I'm like I'm speechless. I really am. I'm like, I don't even understand how this is even a thing. And you just go around, it's like everyone is so Sue happy. And for her to start doing this, I mean, I feel so bad for Elijah Schaefer and Sam Parker. I mean, I am just like floored.
Kyle Seraphin too. Yeah, they're all of them there. I mean,
Yeah.
Elijah's looking at $200,000 worth of attorney fees just to get into the courts and fight this. And if he loses this, that's why everybody should be sharing Elijah's shit, because if he loses this court case, it's over. It's done. America's done. You won't be able to. We couldn't even have this conversation, because that'd be, well, what if you bring up somebody and we say something, and then I'm just going to get sued, because we talked about Fauci, we talked about Cash Patel, we talked about Bongino, we talked about any of these people. It's just like, you're going to get a lawsuit, and it's Trump representing this and being like, allowing that to happen is so filthy and so disgusting. It's like Susie Wiles has to go. The entire Trump administration has to go. And if we don't get rid of them, we're done. And that's why I just say, it's like, I think we had this conversation last night. I said, like, when the war starts, right, when World War III starts, it's going to start. I will be watching these other people send their children off to die for fighting for this country, while I'm watching the war, and I'm watching their children get blown up from whatever satellite TV in whatever country I'm in, because I'm not going to be here. I'm not sending my children to die for this country. I wouldn't recommend that you do the same. I would recommend that you get out of this country, because it's on a trajectory that, like, Eric Stacks calls it escape velocity, and it's basically the point on when a plane is on a runway and it's getting ready to take off. It's accelerating down the runway, and it hits a point where it's going so fast, but there's not enough runway left for it to stop.
Mhm.
It has no choice but to accelerate and take off. I feel like our country is at that escape velocity, right? Like, the plane's taking off. There's no way out, right? Or it's about to hit escape velocity, and then you have the opportunity to bail right now, but you have to do it right this second. If you don't, you're pot committed into whatever course that plane's headed, and you're at the very least have to take off with that plane, and you're most likely going to make it to whatever destination you're going to. And that destination is not where you want to be. It's not where you want to raise a family. It's not where you want to have kids. It's not where you want to do anything. But again,
Mhm.
they keep bankrupting us, right? Things keep getting more and more expensive, so we have less and less money, and with less and less money, it makes it even harder for the somewhat okay people to save up enough to actually escape this rat race. You'd have to go work two jobs right now for the next 3 years and put half of every paycheck, or put one full paycheck anyways, if you're working 2 jobs and you can live off one income, you need to put the entire second income into Bitcoin. You need to do that for, I don't know, 4 years. And then eventually you might be able to offset and outpace inflation and all the other crime and corruption that, just devalues your dollar. I mean, Trump devalued the US dollar by 18% already this year. That's pretty freaking nuts to think about. Gas hasn't gotten cheaper around me. Food hasn't gotten cheaper. The only thing that's gotten cheaper, truly cheaper, is eggs. And eggs are down like 50%. So I don't know
Yeah.
where we go from here. I don't know. I don't have any solutions. So
Now, do you think so as far as, I mean, obviously Trump has come out and he's acknowledged everything with CPS, and he is acknowledging like there's a lot of work to do in a lot of areas. Obviously, we're not really I don't think we're seeing headway on anything, and any one thing in a great stretch, right? Um but I am really shocked that he waited until the other day to acknowledge CPS. Um I mean, this is, like I said, Epstein files are being released. We knew what Epstein was doing. We've known about the tunnels under Disney. Like, come on now. You have employees that have exposed that. Um, I don't know if you knew about the hospital under Disney in Orlando.
no, tell me about it.
Oh man. So essentially there's a girl that came out on TikTok and she talked about her experience that when she was younger, she got hurt at Disney in Orlando and they had to take her to the Disney hospital. And they took her in. So, all the little houses, the Minnie Mouse house, whatever, the little homes, they actually have elevators in them. And there's like a whole underground area. And Disney acknowledged this when this came out, by the way. And what they said was, well, it's for characters to get across the park without being seen. And I'm like, well, what does that matter? You got kids running anywhere. Who cares? Right.
That's crazy.
So they get her down there to look at her leg. And while she's in there, they gave her a whole new change of clothes, shoes, pants, shirt, the whole nine. By the time her parents get in the room, because they took her, I guess they were going to do imaging, and they have the whole nine down there. And next thing you know, she was in a whole different outfit. So she starts talking about this other incident that she heard of where a child went missing. And naturally, when you put out a missing child report, right, you're going to go with what your kid was last wearing, right? Well, the
Yeah.
kid ain't wearing the same shit no more because they've changed the clothes and they turn it into like, oh, like you hurt yourself, like it's a Disney day, like let's change your outfit. Okay, so that comes out. Then I'm gonna have to find you these TikToks and send you some of this stuff because it is. I was like, I'll never ever go to Disney ever again. I was like, no way, this is disgusting. So that's one thing. Set that aside. People that used to work there talk about this area underground where they have the hospital. Supposedly there's several levels,
Yep.
right? And there's a room, Ryan, that looks okay. Do you remember the movies Taken?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember how they put the women in that glass little thing and they auction them off?
Yep.
It's a glass playpen in the center, and they have all these different things in there. Somebody videotaped that, put it on TikTok, went everywhere, and a lot of people acknowledge, yeah, I've been down there, and that's there. But they say it's for characters. And outside of that glass thing with all the little things in there, there's booths. What's that for, Ryan?
That's creepy.
What's that for? Start looking on TikTok. Start digging on TikTok.
Those are the missing children, huh? Those are the souvenirs.
It's for characters, Ryan. What performance is going on down? I mean,
Oh man, that's
come
so
on.
crazy.
Yeah, and this is Orlando. So they've been trying to do damage patrol, but I'm going to tell you what, if you start really digging, there's a lot of these stories. A lot of people that, and Disney has said, oh, it's for characters to get from one side of the park to the other. And oh, it's so like when we're cleaning up the trash, like they don't have to be like going with the trash bin in between garbage cans and all this. They turn it into that. Like, oh, it's supposed to just like make the experience like really like, I don't even know. Like, I don't care if I go to an amusement park and they're dumping trash in a
No,
trash.
I see that at Cedar Point all the time.
Right.
Every amusement park I go to, they have that there.
I'm from Chicago. You go to like Six Flags, like they openly dump the trash there. I'm not personally
Yeah.
offended when I'm going from ride to ride. Like I don't care. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Nobody cares.
But yeah, you have to start looking at that. And so I think Disney is tied to a ton of this.
I mean, Disney was taking boats to Epstein's Island with kids, tours to Epstein Island. So yeah, Disney's it's all connected. It's all corrupted, and It's just I'm just glad people are waking up, right? It's like
Mhm.
this is where it starts at the end of the day. It's like, okay, we have to come together as a collective. We have to wake up. We have to wake everybody else up. But like now, it's like if you're not awake, you're almost choosing to stay asleep. I think at
You're
this point,
ignorant.
yeah, yeah,
Ignorance. Because
yep,
like I said, it's easy to sweep it under the rug, act like it doesn't exist because it's too nasty to fathom.
yep,
And just, I guess, pray it doesn't happen to you
yeah.
type
Pray it
thing.
doesn't have to be one of your kids.
Right. And the thing about it is that I think majority of it, and this is my experience when I really started digging with the missing kids in my county. And you start to realize how many of those kids are funneled in, how many go out. Well, where's the missing number? What happened to the gap?
Yep.
You know,
And
and
you could look at it too, as you could say, hey, like you could corrupt foster care parents theoretically to like take their kid there and just drop the kid off, and you know, hey, yeah, I'm just gonna go in here. You just follow this trail down to the bottom, and you come out the other side. I'll meet you on the other side, and the kid goes in that tunnel and never comes out again, and nobody's looking for him because you're the foster care parent, or you
well,
just
that's what
kidnap
I
the kid,
think.
right? Yeah, you could have a
And
whole trafficking network that just, hey kids, yeah, let's go to Disney. I'll take you to Disney. And then the kids go to Disney and the parents just leave them there. Or not really, they're not really the real parents, it's the trafficker would just leave them there. And they would never see. It'd be the easiest way to just exchange children. You could have this entire operation running.
no, my question, I do have a question, and obviously, like watching this whole thing with Baby Cyrus, with CPS and being able to come up with just whatever excuse they want, right? And clearly, you don't have to have visible bruising or anything. They could just make up whatever they want. And by the time you get your chance to, you know, first off, they don't even want you to get a second opinion. They don't even give you the option to get a second opinion, which is crazy because how can you say, hey, this is what's wrong? Typically, you should get a second and third opinion to verify because that's just what you should do, right? Especially if you're going to accuse somebody of abusing their child, but they don't do that. But so you have all these different roadblocks. And so that's one concerning thing. And the second thing I wanted to bring up was aside from that, where do you think a lot of my opinion is I think a lot of the trafficking once they get these kids, I personally think that they put them like a lot of it is done in port cities and I think they're put on barges and containers.
For sure. And we
I
know
don't even know if
because
I
I mean
should
there's
say that
been,
on it.
yeah, there's kids that have
But
been, that have passed away in these containers as they, smash the air vent, and the container gets, they run out of oxygen inside that steel box, or it gets, 200 degrees and the ships get stuck out at port and the kids are out there dying. I mean, yeah, we dock workers say it all the time that they hear children screaming in the bins, and yeah, it's an evil world out there. It is. It really is. I mean, you could speculate on it all, but I mean, there's enough evidence out there to put all of this out on the table. I mean, we've done it
mhm.
all in multiple documentaries. So it's like the evidence is out there. If people want it, the documentaries are there. You guys can watch them. You guys can share them. I think that this documentary on CPS will be shared from parents for generation to generation. As long as CPS is operating, almost every time somebody gets their kid, taken by CPS or they have an interaction with CPS, they're going to come back to this film. They're going to share this film with their friends and family members. And I think that was the most important part about it for me anyways. And trying to help out the Rodriguez family. You should really interview them. You should interview Diego one day. I can set that up if you're interested.
Oh, yeah, I would love that. No, I mean, I thought the documentary was excellent. I thought the editing was insane. I made my husband watch part of it yesterday. And we were dying about the Hillary Clinton. I mean, she is such a clown. I can't even look at her. I can't stand the Clintons.
Yeah, she's in
They're
everything.
just disgusting. But when they took the cover off and it was Hitler's book, we died. We literally were like, this
Yep.
lady, it's just and to look at I thought it was great even to bring Alex Jones in because um you know they have really done Alex Jones in. I
Oh yeah.
mean, I feel so bad for him. I love Alex Jones and it's like you said they bankrupt you when you expose and he's been talking about that for a long time. And I don't know, I was really proud of you. I thought the film was awesome and I don't know, I thought it was outstanding. I shared it all over the place. I was so excited to interview you. I was like nervous. I was like, I don't even know. Should I write questions down? I've never interviewed someone. I was like, but um,
It'd be great.
it's just one of those things where it's the uncomfortable stuff to talk about. And I think that it's awesome that you've you've done so much work and to hear yesterday I happened to stumble across another interview you did on X really quick and for you to use your own money just to produce these and you're not even getting a return on it and then to be demonetized um
Sucks.
I just can't even fathom, because you're really literally putting yourself on the line here.
Well, thank you very much. I can tell you right now, this one's probably going to cost me, just by looking at where we're at right now, 27,000. So it was at 20,000 when we started this film, when we released it. So we're at about 7,598 minus, at the very least, this one's probably going to cost me 30. So I'll just do it. 25 is what I've always said they cost me. So just minus the, or shit, minus the 7,595 so far. We're, oh shit. Yeah, we're about 17,000 down on this one so far, but that's only in 3 days. Maybe over the next couple of weeks, we might, every once in a while, I feel like I'm down, I feel bad about it, and then all of a sudden a $5,000 donation will come in or something big, and it'll kind of help offset it. But about 17,400 this one will cost me so far, but I'm sure it'll only end up being, at the very least, I think I'll probably, maybe another couple grand will come in over the next couple of days. So maybe I'm only losing 15 on this one, which isn't as bad. I lost 23 on the El Salvador one, or 24 on the El Salvador one, and then about 22,000 on the Operation Amber Alert regime change one. So yeah, I've done my fair part now. The deal with God I've made is like, just, hey God, like, I'm gonna make one more film, and then I'm gonna meet my wife, and I'm gonna go make some children, and it's gonna go retire off into the abyss. So I think that this is my kind of my sign off documentary. I think I've done as much as I possibly can for, to just get the word out there, and then shine the light and show people, hey guys, like, you can do this with just an iPhone, right? You don't need any special computer or laptops or any high-end equipment. You just need a good editor and the willingness to go out there and hunt down and find the stories. But when it comes to child trafficking, I mean, you could study it for a week, and you could have enough information to make two or three documentaries. It's so much out there, and there's so many stories, and it's just like, if people just picked up their phone and started talking about it and reporting on it every day, yeah, so we'd be better. We'd be a better place. But yeah, so thank you for bringing me on. I greatly appreciate it. And if this was your first interview, you absolutely killed it. So thanks for having me on, and thanks for sharing my work and sharing my film. I really appreciate it.
No, I'll continue to do that, and I think you've done your fair share. I think you've been very selfless, and you've done more than the average person. So you have to be proud of that. And at the end of the day, it's not just up to you. And that's the thing, is everyone. This is something that everyone should be able to come together on, right?
Yep.
The topic of children, like, if we can't come together and say, hey, this is a huge problem, put our foot down, um that's a huge issue. So it's not really meant to be a weight carried on your shoulders. I hope that you can start monetizing on social media again, because
Actually,
so
I'm still
what did they give
monetized
you to
on, so
what did they
actually I
give
am.
you to
So
ban you? Like, what were the reasons, or how did that work?
they don't really. It's Andrew Tate. I put out a video of Andrew Tate saying that Bitcoin is a better investment than a house. I made shorts, and I used myself and other people's content. Face LinkedIn, I was sharing just shorts I made of Trump that was against their policy. Instagram, same thing, just violent and hateful, dangerous content, conspiracy theory, misinformation, bullshit. And here we are today. So it's just it's a never-ending circle, but I'm all right. I'm fighting it. I'm doing good. X has got me monetized now. I'm having a good time just making these vertical videos. So I'll be around on social media for probably another couple of years, but eventually I'm just going to have some kids and
Disappear.
maybe go back into the Bitcoin stuff full time. That's kind of where my heart is and where I started. And I would like to get back to just kind of talking about, getting your money right, and then getting out of America and starting your life over in another country, because you have that opportunity. So again, thank you so much for bringing me on, and
No,
I
thank you for
appreciate the
coming
time.
on again, and letting me ask you more questions and pick at your brain, because, like I said, I think that you've done awesome, and I'm proud of your work, and I'll continue to share it. I'll continue to share. You can come on here anytime and say what you want. Um, I'm not afraid, to be honest. I've told people several times, they're like, "How are you able to stand in your truth and not be scared?" I'm like, if it's God's plan for something to happen to me for telling the truth, then it's God's plan. But I'm not going to sit here and cower to the world. I'm just not. So I think we all have to come together, and there has to be people like you. And even I'm nothing. I have like $100 or 100 YouTube followers right now, but I just started my podcast a couple weeks ago. So it's a process, but I'm still learning. But you just got to go out there, be yourself. Like you said, it doesn't take much. You could look at a couple of videos and gather a ton of information, and just put it out there, and pray about it. And that's what you have to do. And just know that, I don't know, if something were to happen to me, in my heart, I could die okay, knowing that, I've stood in my truth. I've been honest. I've been a good person. I've given someone the shirt off my back, and I've done what I could, and you should feel the same way. So I just want to let you know I'm grateful for that. And yeah, if Diego or any of the family ever wanted to do an interview, that would be awesome. I
Oh,
would love to
sure.
talk to them about it, their experience. I know it's been god awful, and believe me, I'm looking at options, especially here in Florida, being a port city and being near Disney, of a way I can actively get involved in helping prevent some of this, because I just feel very called to it. So we'll see what the future holds. But I'm so thankful for you and just all the documentaries. I think they're all outstanding. So I
Well,
wish
thank
you
you
the
very much.
best, and hopefully I'll hear from you. Let me, keep in contact. Let me know how you're doing. And, if you ever need help with anything, any kind of assistance, like free of charge, I'll help you. If you just, need anything, I'm here.
I appreciate it. Thank
So
you. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a great
God
day.
bless you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.